Welcome back. It is a Tuesday of game week for college football as week one is here, baby. Ready to get at it, go out. The Big Ten gets underway on Thursday with Purdue and Penn State. That should be a game to watch. I'm looking forward to watching that game. Then, of course, Indiana opens their season at home under the lights Friday night against the Fighting Illini, who picked up a win over Wyoming over the weekend. And then everybody else gets at it on Saturday. Yesterday, we had the chance to talk to Coach Allen, Chip Bell, and Chad Wilt. I asked Walt Bell a question that was nothing to do with football because I posted a clip a couple weeks ago, and Dustin DePirick he got it started. But he had as a mustache now. He did not have at the start of fall camp, I believe. And one of them tight, crisp mustaches. And Dustin DePirick said, "Man, I'm trying to think of my favorite Western character." He was thinking Doc Holliday or something, and I'm like, hey, it kind of, if you made that a black and white photo with that solid mustache he's got, I'm like, yeah, maybe. But I had the chance to ask him about that yesterday, and it was not just a run of the mill boring answer. It was there is some validity behind what he's doing. So let's hear that, John.
And what prompted it? What prompted it? Well, the quarterback's not a bunch of kids on offense were joking about it. If you look at my genetic heritage, there's a large family tradition of mustachioed gentlemen. I grew up, my father, he had a nice thick caterpillar up there, and then also I'm 38. I got 2 kids. I got a wife. And every comedic reference I make, no one understands. So it probably was time for me to have a mustache. But no, it's here to stay. I grew up, granddad, dad, everybody had one. So figured I'd join the family line.
There you go. It's a great, fun answer.
He lost me on the comedic reference. Like, how's the mustache help his delivery on comedy?
I think that they were seeing him as young, maybe. I don't know, not taking him serious.
Maybe that's he's obviously got a very young countenance, so I can see where maybe that was a problem for him. I don't know, but
young looking 38, yeah.
He is indeed. He is. I'll tell you a story about how I came to have a goatee. This is a true story. I was watching late at night Love Connection. And
oh my God,
this was around 99.
Was that with Adam Carolla?
No, this was before that. This is with the guy, the guy that used to be on a Wheel of Fortune or whichever. Not.
He's from Kentucky.
Okay.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I forget his name now. I'm sure he'd be pleased by that.
I know what you're talking about.
Chuck Woolery, yeah.
Chuck Woolery, yes.
Yes. Okay. So I'm watching this Love Connection. This is 1999, and this woman sees the 3 guys or whatever that she can pick from or whatever, and the one guy has a mustache, and I had a mustache then, and she basically called him out on being out of style. That wasn't in style anymore. I started growing my goatee the next day because I'm not gonna be out of style, man. So I've had it ever since. I thought about shaving it off, but my wife likes it, so it stays. But
he was born in
now I think technically this is out of style. But what am I going to do? I mean, I'm not going back to the straight mustache.
I think I had a mustache when I was 19 or something, just because there was some hair growing there. So I just let it grow there, But
yeah, I grew mine in '82 because I was covering Major League Baseball, and I looked like I was 13. So
yeah.
I figured if I grew a mustache, I'd look a little older. So that didn't make me a better baseball writer. I was the worst baseball writer ever. And I did not hold that job for it. I did one season, and that was the end of it. And thankfully so in a lot of ways. But the mustache, it didn't help. It may have helped get me taken a little bit more seriously, but it didn't make me a better baseball reporter.
I was roping rodeo, and so it's it's almost you have to have some kind of facial hair, and you chew Copenhagen. There's these things that just kind of go along with when you're rodeoing. Because
you're a rodeo cowboy. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, I was. Yeah.
Did you know that, Dustin?
I did know that,
Okay.
but I just learned it recently.
Okay. I did not know you were a cowboy.
But I stopped, like when I stopped roping, the chewing went away. There was an 8-year period where I was not competing, and it just, the chewing tobacco just went away because it was it was a habit of being there. But anyway, that was, I think I always had facial hair during that. I'll find a picture of that.
The story,
put that up
the story
here.
behind mine is that I'm just too lazy to break out the clippers very often.
That's generally a lot of times because that doesn't have something to do with this. But yeah, a great story from
Also,
Walt Bell on that.
I've been told that if I don't have this, I look a lot like Charlie Brown. So I'm trying to avoid any sort of Peanuts character.
Wah, 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 wah. Exactly. So, all right, we got the first weekend of college football up ahead of us, Mike. What are you looking forward to? Of course, with Indiana, this is a must-win game, and I know it's almost, you hate saying that on a season that has 12 games in it, and this is number 1, but it just is. It's a must-win game because you don't have the opportunities that follow that are really limited for me, for this team. If this was, a different team, I wouldn't necessarily say that. But for this team coming off of the season they came off of with Tom Allen, where he is, I think, and it being a home game and with the fans, there's going to be so much attention. Friday night, that just all these things for me go into making it a must win.
Yeah, I'll dissent from that, if only because when we talk about must win, what we ignore about is that, okay, so if they lose that game, what about if, okay, so let's say they lose that one, but then Michigan comes to town in a month and they beat them. Well, doesn't that erase the fact that they lost to Illinois? I mean, it doesn't in the sense of it affects your conference standing and everything, but in terms of your perception of strength and growth and all that sort of stuff, I think it's a very important game and an opportunity. Illinois has already played, so they have a little bit of an advantage there. Indiana's advantage is in playing at home. So I think it's a significant opportunity because if they get that, then they have two games, one against the FCS and then another one against the developing FBS team in Western Kentucky. So then you have some opportunities to gain some strength at home, and then you go on the road to Cincinnati. So I think it's an opportunity game. If you could be 3-0 going into Cincinnati, you're set up to have a nice season. The schedule works well for them. But if you lose that one, all of a sudden you're scrambling, and then somewhere down the road, you do have to win a game or two that you're not supposed to win, so to speak. So maybe it's Michigan, maybe it's Nebraska on the road. I'm not sure. But I think it's a significant opportunity for them to win a game that's going to matter to their start, to their Big Ten standing, to the overall success of the year. But I hate to put on, in game one, must win, because like I said, you can erase that. You can erase that with some surprising success. It amps it up so that you have to at that point. If you lose that game, then you have to counteract it with a victory that you're, theoretically not supposed to win.
I don't disagree with that point. I think the reason it gets labeled as a must win is because Illinois is a much improved football team, as are teams like Maryland, Rutgers, Purdue, obviously. Their games are hard to win now in the Big Ten.
Yes.
And I guess where my mindset goes, and the mindset of a lot of fans, is if you can't beat Illinois at home, who are you going to be able to beat in the Big Ten? Now, that doesn't mean they can't go out, and like you said, they can't go out and get an upset. It just, then you break out the Sharpie and try to circle the wins, and it gets really difficult if you don't have that first one against Illinois to find where your wins are going to come from. I think you're right. I think they can rebound. It's just going to be incredibly difficult if they don't get that first one.
Yeah, I believe me. I that's why I said I think it's an opportunity. I think it's important for them. I just reject the notion that if you lose that game, well, where's it going to come from? Where it's going to have to come from is you're going to have to get a lot better. And sometimes teams do, and sometimes they don't. I understand the importance that fans are going to place on that game, but sometimes when you do that, you miss like if it doesn't happen and then you sort of surrender on it. Well, obviously they're not any better, and then all of a sudden they've won 4 games in a row, and you're not going to miss it, Dustin. But I mean, like some fans might say, oh well, same old, and then they miss this growth and development that happens. One never knows. That's why we watch sports, and that's why I think that you can emphasize the importance of this game. It's a huge opportunity for them to get off to a great start. Going into Cincinnati at the end of the month, end of September, with 3 wins, it would be enormous for them, because it would give them the confidence that they could go in there and win that game. We don't know what the Bearcats are going to be. They lost a lot of great players off of last year's conference championship team. They lost a lot of great players. But they still have some very good ones. So it could go either way for them as well. And they have a difficult schedule. They have to play Arkansas this weekend. Oh, yeah. The Hoosiers coming in. So they've got some difficult games. And so if the Hoosiers are going into that game 3-0, it's a real opportunity for them to get off to a tremendous start. And that's why I totally agree with the importance of this game with both of you. I can't quite get on if they don't win this, then the season is lost.
Right. And I understand that, because anybody can turn it around at any time. It's just, I think we're just going off of historical perspective.
Yes.
Is what we'd say. And, offensively, I have confidence in Indiana defensively, because they've got some really good players back. They've got Tom Allen over there, which I know he is locked in on that. And Chad Wilt seems to be seems to be a better fit. I've not been in practice and all that, but just watching him up, talking to him, you can tell that he's the defensive guy and that Chad Bell's the offensive guy. I mean, Wills has just got that defensive mantra about him, that makeup.
Well, let me tell you.
But I don't know what I was going to say is I don't know, but the offense, and it's not that I don't have a confidence in Chad Wilt. We don't know. We don't know who the quarterback's going to be. I'll guarantee you they're going to have to run just a very fast-paced, quick-hitting offense, and I don't know how that could be Jack Tuttle, but I think we're going to probably find out.
I think the thing to me that stands out about Chad Wilt is, and why I think he's probably a better fit than Charlton Warren, is I understand that all programs have their quote unquote culture. It's the thing that all 130 FBS coaches talk about. But Indiana, Tom Allen, and PJ Fleck, Minnesota, they kind of take that to another level. So him coming from Minnesota, I think he's kind of accustomed to that. I'm going to call it over the top, because I don't know a better word for it. It's not that it's necessarily over the top, but you have to be a little bit different to win at Indiana, or a little bit different to win at a place like Minnesota. So I think that can be a culture shock for a guy who spent a lot of his career in the SEC. Chad Wilt has spent the last couple of years at Minnesota with PJ Fleck. So he's coming into a similar type of culture where it's not row the boat, it's LEO, but it's that type of thing. And I think that does make a difference in his adjustment period from Minnesota to Indiana. I could just be blowing smoke, but I think that is a legitimate thing when you're accustomed to that type of culture, as opposed to coming from a completely different, like Florida, Georgia, some of these other places that Charlton Warren had stopped.
All the things you're talking about, though, are the reasons why one, can look at this game and say, okay, if it doesn't happen, they can get better, because there's a new quarterback, new OC, all of that. You can't necessarily expect them to be their absolute best on day one. Yeah. You obviously would prefer that, but you don't know. And so that's kind of what makes it so dicey to say must win, when obviously with two essential parts to any offense being brand new, to Big Ten, high level Big Ten competition, you know, in the part of the player, and then into IU in the part of the coach. That's why I'm not sure that they're going to be their best at the start, and that there's room to improve, and why, you know, even winning an ugly game on Friday night would be a significant triumph for the Hoosiers, because it would put them in a great position moving forward.